This is the European history lesson for Friday, the 8th of October, 2021. Everyone has their notes open and out in front of them, and the electronics away in the pockets. For reasons I cannot fathom, both historians and students of culture confuse two words by applying them to something that I don't think they apply to. Renaissance and humanism. And in both cases, what they do is they apply them to Northern Europe. So there is the Northern Renaissance, which is focused on Christian humanism. You could call it a cultural effusion, you could call it the beginnings of a silver age or a golden age, you could call it many things. And yeah, I guess it's a result of the rediscovery of the classical knowledge. But in Northern Europe, the form of Renaissance, or the rebirth of that classic knowledge, Fiona, use the past next time and sign it in.
I did sign in.
Good. No, you just walked past. Sign in. And carry the past next time, please. Now, blah, 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 blah. Okay. When I think of Renaissance, I don't think of Holland. But, in fact, there is a movement in Northern Europe which is described as the Northern Renaissance. It is also focused upon what people call Christian humanism. So we're going to explore both of those things as a prelude to the Reformation and the era of religious warfare in Europe. First, we start with this concept of Christian humanism. The ultimate, idea is that regular human life can be holy. Now, the word holy means separate from normal life. And so there are your normal clothes, notes out please, and there are the clothes you wear to church. There is the normal tableware that you use, and there's the fancy silverware and china that you bring out for important guests at formal occasions. Holy literally means keeping something separate. But Christian humanists argue that God would not have made us to lead daily lives as we do if there wasn't a potential for expressing one's religious beliefs in the course of that everyday routine. So in the course of that everyday routine, there are opportunities to express one's Christianity. So Christian humanists focus less on the elaborate ceremonies that typified the Roman Catholic Church at the late medieval and early modern period, and instead focus on a simplicity of thought, word, and deed. My grandmother used to talk about an elegant simplicity or an elegant sufficiency, as if there is an innate sense of aesthetics or beauty to the notion of simplicity, which I have to agree with. If you look at the design of buildings or of automobiles, clean lines do tend to make one of those more beautiful than clutter. So, what if we looked at our lives as being a place where religious expression can be lived without having to become a priest or a monk or a nun, by being a good Christian in your everyday activities? And why not keep things simple? In the Navy, they have an expression, actually it's 1970s military. It's called KISS. Not Knights in Satan's Service, that's the rock band with the makeup. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And it's a principle that's taught to people in the military who are going to engage in leadership. Because military life and activity is complicated enough without needlessly complicating it with extra steps. Keep it simple, stupid. So What if we focused on the essentials of faith without all of the elaborate extras? What if we just had the meat and the vegetables and the potatoes, and we didn't have all that wonderful sauce, meat, gravy, or cheese sauce, or butter? Now, Christian humanists look at the elaborate church and state and remember the example of Christ. That Christ himself was not a politician, was not in any way in a secular role of authority over other people. He was a traveling itinerant. He was a traveling preacher and teacher. He moved from place to place. And while the apostles and the disciples were loyal to him, Jesus never commanded a soldier, never commanded a citizen, not through office. Why does the church need to be hierarchical? Why does the church need to be so involved in politics? Now, Roman Catholics of the time would argue that the kings would turn the church into its tool, and to remain independent, they need to be involved in politics. And also that given the threats from the Islamic Turks and other quarters, the church is necessary to strengthen the various kingdoms who fight against these things, and to try to keep the people of Europe on a Christian straight and narrow. But the reformers, echoing a little bit what John Wycliffe and the Lollards, what John Hus and the Hussites said was their theoretical goal, was a more simple pastoral church. Pastoral church is shepherd. It's the idea of a local priest, or being a pastor, a shepherd to his local congregation. That is the primary role of the church. That is what these reformers argue. Not to engage in grand diplomacy or grand politics or grand strategy. I'm not saying they're right, that's their argument. Also, Christian humanists focus on education as a means by which people can become more effective. Literacy. The middle classes, whatever's causing that squeaking. That squeaking, right?
It's the table.
Yeah, I know. Try not to shake it
I'm
if
not
you can
shaking
help
it. I'm writing.
Yeah.
And every time I lift my hand up.
Then bear that in mind, because what is going to be necessary is for me to take the table out back and show it the power and the glory of an axe.
I can help you.
I believe you could.
I would love to.
Now that needs to be repaired. In the meantime, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I don't want to listen to that all day. I just don't. This is a roll of paper towels. Underneath is the squeaky part of the metal, somewhere on your side or on the. Yeah, I think it's on your side. So try to intrude some of this paper between the squeakiness parts, and maybe that will muffle it. Thank you. I will say it again. Perhaps other people can explain it to you. But being the rep that's chosen to do the special activity today, I thought you would know. You are placing some wads of paper between the squeaky
I'm
bits.
taking it off the roll. Okay.
What else did you do?
I thought you wanted me to.
It's okay, Haley. It's totally fine. Takes all kinds. By the way, you do appreciate that these are two different dinosaurs, right?
Yeah. Yes.
This is a Brachiosaurus reaching out to eat food from a tree, and this is a Tyrannosaurus Rex. If you're happy and you know it. Yes.
So in the first picture, is it implied that the little dinosaur is squished directly afterwards, or is it away from the Brachiosaurus?
Wait, this dinosaur here?
Yeah.
Oh no, a Stegosaurus is much smaller than a Brachiosaurus, and a Stegosaurus has sort of bony wing ridge things on its back, and so that's what I was showing. It is a little small. Maybe it's a young Stegosaurus. Thank you for looking into that.
It's not going to be squished.
No, he's not squished at all. No.
He's in
These
the
are
wall.
spikes.
Okay.
These are spikes.
We win.
Does anyone wonder if you're going to take more paper off? Thank you. That's wonderful. So, middle-class people are going to be encouraged to learn how to read and write. Now, there's a technological reason why this happens. It's sort of like the emancipation of women from the home in the 1960s and 70s. That happens for a couple of reasons. First of all, there are enough electronic appliances in the home to allow a family to live without a full-time housewife and still live a decent standard of living. Before that, a man's work was from sun to sun, a woman's work was never done, and women were needed to, you didn't vacuum the rugs, you took them out and beat them. Now we have blenders and electronic ranges that could cook a turkey in a single day, and so on and so forth. Second reason why women leave the home is the Arab Oil Embargo of the mid-1970s, which makes it impossible for a lot of working men to support their families on one salary. So to maintain their standard of living, a lot of families had the wife head out for part-time or even full-time employment. There were reasons beyond us suddenly waking up to the value of the women's that made these things happen. Well, there is a technological thing that bolsters the idea of educating more and more people, and that is the Gutenberg press. The printing press, the movable type printing press that Johannes Gutenberg develops, makes possible, for the first time in human history, the mass production of books. Now, can anyone guess or remember what the first mass-published book was? Yeah. Yes, the Holy Bible. Because, of course, in a Christian society, that is the logical book to be mass-printed. And many religious books are among the earliest bestsellers and mass-printed books. Since books are more available, people can get access to them. More people. At first, only the wealthy and well-connected, but after a while, more and more people who were in the middle class, who were skilled professionals, who earned their living on the basis of their skill, not on the family heritage and legacy that they had. So Protestants, this is not yet Protestants. So Northern Christian humanists of the Northern Renaissance, called to educate people so that they can read about the scriptures and maybe even read the scriptures themselves. This is a scary concept because the scriptures, as I've said, are complicated. They require some degree of perspective and understanding to understand and have perspective on it. That line went nowhere. Anyway, education. Now, the ultimate advocate and luminary, that is bright, shiny figure of the Northern Renaissance of the Christian humanists is Desiderius Erasmus, who's a Dutchman, and from the Netherlands. Erasmus is known by people as the Prince. I'll say that again. Bless you. The Prince of Humanism. Now, Erasmus focuses and advocates for people to focus their religious efforts on what we could call an inner piety. Now, piety comes from the word pietas, which is the basis of your name, and also one of the great Roman virtues, which is loyalty to one's fathers, loyalty to the traditions of one's ancestors. So, pious literally means faithful to fathers. When I grew up Catholic, one of my favorite hymns, and still one of my favorite hymns, is Faith of Our Fathers, which is an English hymn, but it talks about the Roman Catholic loyalty to tradition. Pietas is loyal to father and fatherland. So, what does inner piety mean? What it means is, there's a wonderful part of the Boy Scout Creed that talks about being faithful, true, and clean in thought, word, and deed. When my wife and I got married, we took those words into, we didn't write a bunch of crazy, wacky vows. We were very traditional. I vowed to love, honor, and cherish. She vowed to love, honor, and obey. Very traditional people, us. Don't expect you to understand, but it works for us. But we also included the words in thought, word, and deed. Why? Because evil and good don't just happen. Now, there are acts that may seem evil because they're violent, but they're not necessarily evil. A cat playing with a mouse is not evil. It's following its instinctive programmings to sharpen its hunting instincts.
What about when, I think it's Samson, in the Bible, when he shoves a stake through that guy's head? Is that considered?
No, it was war. In warfare, you're allowed to kill the enemy. This is why the translation of the Ten Commandment, "Thou shalt not kill," is somewhat troubling, because what it really means is "Thou shalt not murder." The execution of criminals and the killing of enemies in war is something that ancient Hebrews, modern Jews, modern Christians, that most monotheists accept as necessary. Not desirable necessarily, but necessary. Quickly.
It's funny how people think the Bible is just this, like happy-go-lucky book, and you read, like...
Oh no, there's a church militant in all three monotheistic faiths. Yeah. The Muslims are a bit more focused on that, but Jews and Christians both have holy wars in their history, and they both have this idea, and we're going to talk about this with Luther when we get to him, that this world is a war between good and evil. It's not that God is going to lose, he's God. The devil's no competition. But what the devil can do is trick people into going dark, into going rogue, into becoming sinful, because misery loves company, and evil loves to be mischievous. So, anyway, yes. The idea is that in your life, you should not indulge sin. You should not allow yourself to do sinful things. You shouldn't even allow yourself to crave sinful things. I smoked Camel unfiltered cigarettes for 23 years, from the last part of my senior year in high school through my, 23 years from then, that's 18, 28, 38, 9, 40. So, from when I was 18 until I was 41. Now, I didn't smoke more than a pack a day. I usually smoked about 3/4 of a pack a day, but I liked it. I enjoyed smoking cigarettes. I still I enjoyed smoking pipes and cigars also, because I had fun with the smoke. It was very dramatic. You can make smoke rings, and you can do all sorts of fun things. And it gave me something to do with my hands when I was talking, and I talk a lot, as you may have noticed. So, when I quit, I had tried and failed to quit several times, but each and every time I failed, because I said, one cigarette won't hurt. It's been an unusually bad day, so I will have a cigarette. And one follows another, follows another. When I started coughing up blood, I stopped smoking, and I stopped coughing up blood. But one of the motivations for me doing that, aside from coughing up blood, which is hell of a motivation, trust me, is I didn't allow myself to want them anymore. I still recognize that I personally enjoyed smoking cigarettes, although I did smoke a pipe and a cigar, but I shouldn't want it anymore. Because if I want it, I'm going to give in to temptation at some point, and that is going to lead to problems. So it is with all sorts of temptation. One should not indulge it in their mind, in thought, word, and deed. That is basically an inner piety. Living in serenity, living in peace, living in harmony with God's law. Yes?
I don't know, this might be inappropriate, and you might get mad at me for asking this, but did you ever smoke weed in the pipes?
I'm not mad at you for asking. You can ask. I'm not going to answer, because it's none of your business. But, no, I'm not mad at you for asking. People are curious, and some people may ask. I enjoyed smoking tobacco. That was my thing.
Yeah, but tobacco has nicotine.
Yeah, because it's totally healthy to smoke one kind of substance but not another. When you inhale smoke from a smoldering fire. You are doing something unnatural to your lungs.
Yeah, but guess what?
Also, I'm also going to tell you this. I've known enough people in my life to know people who not only used marijuana, but abused it. And what happened over time, because they continued to use it, is their mental sharpness, and some of them were extremely bright. I mean, mentally focused, that all went away. It is simply not true that smoking marijuana has no side effects. A long-term side effect, and actually it's a mid-term side effect too, is you become goofy. Now, goofiness in its proper proportion is a good thing in life to have. You got to be able to laugh at yourself, and you got to be able to laugh at other things in life. I think that's a good thing. But when you're goofy because your mind is foggy, because you've lost the ability to hold things firmly in your thoughts and do things in a complex fashion within your mind, that's a shame. Because what it leads to is wasted potential. And I have seen at least 3 of my dear friends from high school completely squander their lives because they liked their marijuana more than they were ready to face life. They hid from life using a drug. And you can use alcohol for that, or marijuana, or any number of other things. The thought that's the problem there is the desire to hide from life and to use a substance to do it. You can have last word if you want.
Okay. I don't smoke. Okay, just saying. I don't smoke weed, just saying. That's not what
I'm not asking, but I'm glad you don't. Anyway,
okay.
Go on.
Oh yeah. They have like, not all smoky is bad, because like on Amazon they have like the melatonin sticks that you could go and like you could smoke them. And that's not that, right?
Melatonin sticks?
Yeah, it's like to help you sleep at night.
Or you
Just take
That's
a pill.
interesting. They have melatonin in pill form, too.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
I'm just saying.
Look, I'll tell you, I did, when they started vaping, I did consider resuming my use of tobacco through vapor because but apparently I decided not to because ultimately I don't usually use caffeine or tobacco. I see no need for it.
You don't have coffee
Maybe
in
it
the
makes
morning?
bigger
No.
clouds than smoke.
Coffee is for the weak. What you need is adrenaline. You need adrenaline.
Coffee is for the people with taste.
I'll be mellow when I'm dead. Yes.
Just saying there's a reason that one out of 3 firefighters get cancer.
There's a reason that 1 out of what?
3 firefighters get cancer.
Yeah. No, breathing smoke is not healthy.
Especially in the mild.
Oh, God.
Cancer.
Again, in my life, I have never experienced anything like the fires that we get from smoke. The smoke fires that we get from smoke. The smoke we get from wildfires out here. It's bad.
Like Southern California, where I'm from, like, it gets really bad.
I believe it.
Wait,
I had family that lived out in Santa Ana, and it was they had Santa Ana winds and fires, and it was nasty. I visited though at a nice time. I visited in January.
California is no longer a place.
No,
I
it's
don't
not.
do it. It's just
It really
how
isn't. Shh. Yes.
What's that one movie with the guy who says the coffee is for closers?
Is that a Tom Cruise movie?
What?
Say it again. Coffee is for closers.
Yeah.
That's a real estate thing. Because closing is when you make a deal to sell a house. I don't know, but it sounds like something that you'd see in a really crazy salesman movie. Okay, so Erasmus focuses on inner piety rather than outward ritual, and Erasmus also writes a book called The Praise of Folly, where he tries to use humor to criticize those Christian practices that he thinks are foolish, thus folly. Folly is the practice of foolishness. And I'm not going to go into detail, but his critiques of the church basically made people who did what he didn't think was good look stupid and buffoonish and funny. I'll tell you, because I am an active, guy, citizen-wise. I do express political opinions in public a lot. When you use humor, it really cheeses people off. You can be serious and argue a point of view, and I get it. I don't like sarcasm myself. I think sarcasm is cheap and lazy for the most part. But if you find something funny and you use it as a political argument, it makes people furious at you because it's not just an intellectual disagreement. When you use humor, it's emotional. It's personal. So today, I decided to send you all an email, which at some point you'll read. And it's something my brother-in-law sent me, and it's about the woke cancel culture that exists. And I imagine that if you are a believer that there is systemic racism and white privilege and all this other stuff, that might irritate you. I did not send it to irritate those people who are true believers in this stuff. I sent it because I found it funny. I have to listen to all sorts of things from people on the left who make fun of my values. That's part of political speech. So if you want, you who disagree with me on this point, send me something that's funny on the other side, and if I agree that it's classroom appropriate, I will send it out to everyone I sent my thing to.
What if it's not?
Then I'm not going to send it. That's a simple thing. I'm not going to send something filled with filth and foul and bad language. No, I'm not. Just not going to do it. No. At least not often.
No. Good.
Fiona, wait. Be patient. We have time at the end. So, if I suddenly lose my sense of proportion, Erasmus is incredibly influential. He never leaves the church. Erasmus remains a loyal Roman Catholic his whole life. He doesn't agree that the answer to these problems the church is having is to split it. He thinks that the problems can be reformed. He thinks that the church is far too worried about criticism leading to war, like the Hussite Wars or the Albigensian Crusade. That the church should have confidence in its beliefs and should be willing to change. Because even an institution inspired by the Lord God Almighty, if human beings are involved, we can go astray. So that was Erasmus's argument. He used humor, praise of folly, focused on inner piety. Now we come to, is that the heat? That is the heat. Now we come to St. Thomas More. More is an interesting fellow. More is an Englishman, Thomas More. And he is probably the most brilliant intellectual of his age. Very, very amazing thinker, writer, communicator through the written word. And early in the reign of young King Henry VIII, when Martin Luther first separated from the church, King Henry absolutely criticized it as an act of religious treason and destructiveness. He even wrote a book. Shh! Henry didn't really write the book. He took credit for it. The book was written in his name. The book was written by Thomas More. And the book basically sliced and diced on Luther's ideas, saying that Luther was taking things too far, and he was taking things out of proportion. And his solution to smash the church like some Humpty Dumpty egg is going to harm Christianity and reduce any ability to control the ambitions of the kings. Henry VIII gets a special kudo from the Pope for this book. The King of England and the Queen of England, down to the present day, one of their most cherished titles is Defender of the Faith. Henry VIII is the first English king to be a defender of the faith. That title bestowed upon him by the Pope himself for Thomas More's book, Defending the Catholic Church Against Protestant Dissolution. So, More is an important fellow. He is somebody that the great minds of Europe correspond with regularly. He is somebody who is a master of the law. Master of the law. More is a great legal thinker. But then, times change. Henry VIII's first wife is Catherine of Aragon. Catherine of Aragon is the daughter of the Spanish king, who's also the Holy Roman Emperor. Henry wants a boy for the same reason that every king wants a boy or a couple of boys, because you need an heir and a spare to perpetuate the monarchy. So Henry wants a set of sons so that everyone is going to be confident that after Henry dies, the monarchy will be strong and there won't be another civil war like the War of the Roses. But he and his wife, Catherine, Princess Royale of Spain, don't have any kids for a while. Now, at that time, they didn't have a biological understanding, and the woman was blamed. Get on it, ladies. Have kids for your man. The problem is, you can't just turn a switch from infertile to fertile. And as a result, Henry is deeply frustrated because their inability to have kids, especially sons, is going to cause some pretty bad problems. They have a daughter, but not a son, and a daughter won't do it. So Henry wants to divorce Catherine. Besides, he's having an incandescently hot affair. I think it's with Jane Seymour, and they want Catherine of Aragon out as wife, and they want Jane Seymour in.
There's a whole Simpsons. I'm gonna know this because I watched the Simpsons episode.
Good. Yes. Now, and there's an actress from the late 20th century called Jane Seymour. It's not her. It's a different Jane Seymour. Anyway, so Henry goes to the Pope and says, I want an annulment. An annulment is a Catholic version of divorce. It's something that should be very rare. And the basis of the annulment is the idea that the marriage was never consummated at all. That the marriage was, it was just kind of hard to argue when you have a daughter. Consummation is the sexual act. If the marriage is never consummated, then you wouldn't have any children. They have a daughter, Mary. So the Pope also has to consider this. We've got Henry VIII of the House of Tudor, who is a powerful king of a medium-sized kingdom in northwestern Europe. On the other hand, you've got Catherine of Aragon, who is a Habsburg, who is connected to the Holy Roman Emperor, who's also the King of Spain, Archduke of Austria, and Duke of Burgundy. If you're going to upset a royal family, you can choose to upset the Tudors or the Habsburgs. You're going to choose to upset the Tudors. So the Pope, both because the marriage could not really in good conscience be annulled, and because he didn't want to upset the really powerful royal family, says, no, you're not getting a divorce. To which Henry says, oh, really? I'm no longer a Catholic. And he pulls England out of the Roman Catholic Church. He claims supremacy over the church in England. And he asserts that the king is now the head of the Church of England. Now, this is furthered by an act of supremacy that forces everyone basically to swear a loyalty oath to this new idea that Henry VIII is the head of church and state simultaneously. And because Henry has a bunch of guys with weapons, most powerful English people sign the act. Thomas More does not. Now, Thomas More says nothing. He writes nothing. His stance is, I cannot be punished for inaction under the law. I am refusing to sign the act, but I'm not telling anyone why. If I don't tell anyone why, I am safe under English law, which he's right about. After years of imprisonment, of persecution, a newly created nobleman named Richie Rich, of all things, perjures himself and claims that Thomas More told him why he didn't sign. And so More is going to be sentenced to death. And he makes this incredible speech before he is martyred. And he is, to this day, a Roman Catholic saint. Get the shades and lights, shut the fan off, please.
Isn't there a show called Richie Rich or a movie?
Yeah, but it's not about the same guy.
No.
Now, this is from the 1964 or 65 movie A Man for All Seasons, and it shows the trial scenes of Thomas More after being put on trial, basically for perjury. Now, I'm going to pause it in case we have time later. Ta-ta!